Meat City, baby.
Hello and welcome back to Meat City Gaming. JD here with another episode of Battle Bites here in World of Tanks. And today we are taking the Bourrasque out for a battle on Malinovka. And this is going to be a standard tier 8 battle, which is absolutely wonderful for the Bourrasque. This tank is so good even up in those tier 10 battles. So when you get the opportunity, the good fortune to have a tier 8 battle and you're in this tank, I certainly always feel like the pressure is on to have a really good game. And this is going to be a pretty good game, and not like anything crazy from an individual perspective, a good solid game, but some nice decisions, some nice strategy, some flank changing, really using the strengths of this tank, and it will turn out to be a really good battle. And I kind of wanted to pick this one because it has an interesting encounter in the middle stages of the battle, and I've been away from World of Tanks for a couple weeks while I finished up my Banner Saga series, and so I thought this was a cool one to come back to because of that very special moment in the midpoint of the battle, which you had a preview to in the opening to this video. So on Malinovka, this is one of the well-known standard positions to get to early in the battle when you have a tank with good view range like the Bourrasque. There's some bushes here, you get some long sight lines, and you can see there we get some spotting. We light up that, I believe it was a Goryinich on the enemy team, and so you can not only see guys that do a shortcut across the middle if they don't go all the way to the back line, you can light them up and shoot at them the whole way. You also get sight lines down here into the corner of the map, the G1 area, so if the enemy flanks around on the frozen river and then pops up on that little embankment kind of looking into your base, you also have line of sight from them there, and the distance is far enough that you usually won't get spotted. And usually, again, depending on your positioning and the size of your tank, you have the benefit of some bush cover as well. It's just a really, really great position. That's why when you're on this spawn location, this is a great place to be. And if you can be on, if you're on the other spawn location, if you spawn in the southeast corner of this map, it's crazy to do it, but if it works, it's really good. If you do a super aggressive push and you get into the ramp just ahead of this tank, it's like the D5 or 6 area, that ramp, you cross the river close to the edge, and then you can kind of poke up and down at the top of that ramp. You can spoil this location by spotting the tanks that are sitting here, which makes it much less desirable to do so. And if you get spotted there, you kind of have to bail out, because then you'll get counter sniped by the tanks on the other team who are sitting back out of view range, and while you're getting spotted by that aggressive push on the light tanks. So it's a really good position if most things work out for you. There are a few counters to it, so just beware of that. And so we're just doing Bourrasque things, right? We have that 2-round autoloader. We can pump out some really good damage. What is it? It's been a while. I think it's 360 per shot for a 720 clip in this tank, which is awesome. And then when you put on top of that good camo and good view range, and on top of everything else, really good mobility. And so we've done our camp, tried to let the battle play out a little bit, and as more tanks get eliminated, we become more powerful because of our ability to shift and change the angle and then assassinate weaker tanks with our 2-clip kind of immediate, right? It's a 1.5 second reload, I think, intra-clip reload, which just will devastate anything that's under 720 hit points. We can take out in almost no time. So I'm planning a push down into the 1 line, and I asked for some help here from, I think that's a T32 black on my team. They were at full health at the time, and they were sitting there probably holding that flank, doing a good job in a hold down location. So they were doing what they should do in terms of preventing the enemy from pushing into that bank, into our base. But I noticed that we were losing the hill, and eventually if we start to lose the hill and the enemies make their way down, they will spot me in that position. So I thought, okay, if the hill's lost, let me take this opportunity to push down into here and clean up anything that's kind of scattered or isolated, and then we can come back and try to deal with the hill push. Because right now we're down 3 tanks. This is not looking good. And I come around the corner, and there's an M6, not a threatening tank usually. However, I duff my first shot and miss it. The second one goes in, which is great, but now we've got that 20-second reload, and I notice, oh boy, here comes a tank destroyer on the enemy team. So I try to sneak up underneath, and then boom, he goes bouncing off me and gets some crazy air, but does so much damage to my tank. I was thinking if Like, obviously, if he comes flying through the air and rams me or drops from a great height onto my tank, that's going to do a ton of damage. This is a very light tank. It has very light armor, right? Impacts will cause a lot of damage. But that, I was trying to get right under the ridge, so he just kind of would skim off me, and he did, but I still took hundreds and hundreds of points of damage just from that very light impact from a very light tank on the enemy team. But we did survive because that was a non-turreted tank. It did the bounce. It ended up having to do a long turn, and by the time it did, I finally was reloaded and able to put in my 2 shots to secure the kill on that tank. And my teammates were doing some good work too, because now we've got the battle back to 6-6. So I know that M6 is here. I was kind of debating, do I go up and to the left or do I go around to the right? I decided to go around to the right. It was the right choice as he was pulling out. And as I do that, there's a slight hitch in the video capture there. As I did that, I saw an ISU-152 down that corridor. Thankfully, he either wasn't loaded or quite fully aimed, and I was just able to kind of carry my turn around the edge of that building, and then the building was blocking line of sight for me to make my escape. That tank would definitely take me out if it hit me, no matter where it hit me with that big gun that thing carries. So I know there's 2 artillery on the enemy team and the ISU-152, and they are all down in that lower corner. So now I decide, okay, let me leave them. Again, use the mobility here, get back and help my base defenders, because there's only going to be 2 tanks here. And there's one of them, the T-28 prototype. We take our first shot and it misses. Second one, we take our time, aim, and yes, we secure that kill. And now our teammates get the other kill. We lose 1 tank, I think, to the ISU-152. The AT-7 was the other tank destroyer that was left. And now things are in great shape. The enemy team has just the 2 artillery. We know where they're going to be. And then that ISU, very dangerous tank with a big gun, but we should be able to outspot them. We should be able to outflank them. And so what I'm going to do now is just take a minute. We've got 8 minutes left. No need to rush in. I don't want to get into a position where he can hide behind a building or a bush, and then I go in isolated, right? We don't want to go one by one. If we can eliminate the ISU, it's pretty much going to be over. The artillery can't take out more than 1 tank at a time. They may get lucky with 1 shot, but they're not going to have the reload as long as we go en masse. Same thing with the ISU. It has a big single shot, and then it has to do a reload. So let's go in together and make a coordinated push. So we do a little bit of spotting. Careful, I'm going to kind of just build my way forward here, and then, oh, there we go. The ISU does get spotted. So we'll reverse, put 1 shot in, we hit the engine and do some damage. Second shot, not quite enough to get the kill. We leave him on 47 health, which is unfortunate. I'm thinking hopefully one of my artillery or other allies will be able to take him out, as I have that long reload now. Boom, there goes the ISU, and now it looks like we have pulled this game back from the jaws of defeat with just the 2 artillery left. And now, let's see if we can go hunting and make some use out of the end phase of this battle here. We'll get into a good position. We'll use the mobility. We should be fully loaded. 2 artillery should be 2 easy shots to at least take out one of those tanks. And if we're really lucky, maybe we'll get both. So M12, we take aim, and oh, that was such a bad shot. I rushed it. Take our time on the second one. Put that second shot in. And now we're on a reload. And where is that other artillery? Oh, he's there. Yeah, I completely whiffed on that. He was spotted way earlier than that, and for some reason I got tunnel visioned on the M12 and got lucky that I took a turn at the last second just purely by chance, which caused that shot to miss from the American tank, the American artillery piece. Oh, it's German, it's a Hummel. And so we are able then to get our last reload in right as we crest the hill and put that shot in for whatever it was, 9 damage that was left on that tank to secure the final kill of the game and the win for the team. So a little bit of craziness there. We started off slow and steady with a little bit of camping, a little bit of bush work, and then we showed the mobility of the tank. We did that aggressive flanking maneuver, made a push, got 2 or 3 secured kills, pulled back originally to the hill to defend our base, secured that kill, and that allowed us to turn the tide down 3 tanks to going even, to going up 1 tank, and finally into that cleanup phase of the game to mop up those last 2 artillery. And we have a nice performance there, an MVP performance, 3,500 damage, and we can see that's 6K combined there, 3,500 damage direct, another 2,350 in assistance damage, 6K combined for the Bourrasque is an excellent game. Really, really happy with that result. This tank is a moneymaker for sure, especially if you're not firing premium rounds, and you don't really need to be firing premium rounds unless you're in a tier 10 battle. And even in a tier 10 battle, they're probably not going to help. You should be flanking and your standard rounds will do just fine if you're flanking anyway. So 161,000 in silver with a premium account going at the time. Still would have been over 100K even without that premium account going. And unfortunately, that's only enough for a second class mastery badge. The Bourrasque, as we know, is very, very good. The numbers that people put up in this tank are ridiculous. So not even a first class. In most tanks that I've been seeing lately, 1600 plus XP, which we had, would get you an ace tanker or at worst a first class mastery badge. Not quite enough in the Bourrasque. You really need those tier 10 battles and then that kind of performance, and then you might have a shot at an ace tanker in this tank. But still a great performance. Even though it's a second class mastery badge, it still felt like a really, really good battle. Solid mechanics, good gameplay, good strategy, good execution. Just all around, everything went very, very well in that game, and it led to a great outcome for our team, even though we had that kind of down performance from the team at the start, able to pull it back at the end. Our teammate shout out for the game is going to go to Rick the Butcher in the HMHM51. Put up even more damage than I did. He was really doing some work. That big gun on that tank can put out large chunks of damage on single shot fire. Coming in second place with 1400 XP. And of course, our total, as we said there, 1,673 XP. Super solid performance in this tank. 6,000 combined, 3 kills. Led the team MVP performance, which is what you should expect to be doing in a tier 8 battle in the Bourrasque. So I think we lived up to our expectations. And as we saw, when you have a tank that's this good, top tier, you really can impact the battle as long as you pay attention to what you're doing and execute a sound strategy. So that's going to wrap this one up. Thanks for joining me, and I'll see you next time.